When I first soft launched my stationery company in 2022, all my designs were mainly patterns inspired by traditional Ankara fabric. But along the way, I decided that I wanted to create a character design. And this bookmark was my first character design. I wanted it to be a young black girl who looks pretty trendy and she's just leaning against the wall reading a book. But I was not and still am not a great background drawer, so I decided to forfeit the background altogether and just create a pattern background and have her floating in abstract space. While it's been about 3 years since the soft launch of my company, it's officially had several hard launches, and so I thought it was time to update this bookmark. I did go through a few iterations of trying to update the illustration herself, but none of them just compared with the same authentic feel of the original one, so I decided to just re-outline that but put her in a background. I wanted to put her in a coffee shop. She's just hanging out waiting for her order to be complete. The barista has probably called her name several times already, but she's so enthralled in her book that she hasn't heard, or is so enthralled in her book that she doesn't care. She's just gonna let her matcha latte go cold while she finds out what happens in the protagonist in this chapter. Just one more chapter, just one more page, and then she'll get her matcha and head on out. I also tried to record the sketching process. What you're seeing right now is me outlining my basic sketch, but there's something about having a camera on you that just makes me unable to sketch. As soon as I put the camera away, it all came together and I was able to come up with an idea of what I wanted the coffee shop to look like and where I wanted everybody to be placed and get dimensions right. But yeah, I have to get used to drawing with the camera on me. You should try it. It changes the way you draw. It's weird. It's also kind of a risk redrawing this design. Since I released it 3 years ago, it's been one of my best sellers. But then after I drew this one, I drew a second character bookmark, and I call it book stacks. It's a girl who is leaving her bedroom. She's got piles of books stacked around her bedroom and she's carrying a pile of books to goodness knows where. In my imagination, she's carrying it to the library or to her office. She has lots of school work or university work or college work. Maybe she's working on her dissertation to get done. She's just swimming in book stacks, and that kind of overtook this one as the bestseller. And that one, I put her in a background that I spent figuring out, and I came out with a great illustration. So I thought it was time to update my original black girl reading and give her a background, a coffee shop to be in. Her vibe, her face, just the pleasant expression on her face, has always said to me that she's in a chill environment. It's just her and her book, but she's standing, so she's not super chill. She's needed somewhere, she's expected somewhere, but not urgently. So it's kind of a semi-chill environment. So I know that she couldn't be at home, because if she was at home, why would she be standing? I knew she had to be out and about somewhere, but nowhere in which her just chilling and reading a book was going to be a nuisance, even if she does refuse to pick up her matcha, find a seat, or go home if she doesn't want to stay. She's like in between two worlds because she's lost in the world of a book. And I've been there. I feel like all of us book lovers have been there. Like, when was the last time that a book had you in a chokehold? For me, I've just finished book 2 of the Children of Orisha series by Tomi Adeyemi, and this book has taken over my life. I can honestly say that I think about this book from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, and then I keep thinking about it through my dreams, because my typical reading time is at night time. If I don't have time during the day with parenting and working on my business and being creative and just doing life in general, if I don't have time during the day to read, then I will typically make sure that I have at least 15 minutes at nighttime to read. Reading the Children of Orisha series, it has become more like half an hour to an hour at nighttime, and then I have sleep deficit, and it's a whole cycle and it's a whole thing, because I need this book. I need to finish this series. there is just so much in it. It's just so dense. If you're not familiar with the books, it's a fantasy series set in a fictional Nigeria called Orisha, in which there are two main tribes, the Magi and the Kosidan. And the Magi have magical powers. They've been blessed by the gods to have magical powers. The Kosidan do not. And for decades, they've been engaged in a tribal war. Where we catch the book, is that the Kosidan are the king of Orisha, who is a Kosidan, has been persecuting the Magi, trying to wipe them off the face of the earth, and they have finally started to fight back. Of course, in the way that all great fantasies go, the fate of the lands is left in the hands of 3 plucky teenagers who are commissioned to restore magic to the lands. And of course, they have to go through all the turmoil, more turmoil and hurt and heartbreak than any human should have to go through in order to restore magic to the lands and try and bring peace and safety and justice to all their people and all that they have lost. So the premise is great, and then the actual writing, this is where I always struggle. The actual writing is so good. The action scenes the pacing of the action scenes is just so perfectly paced that you can't put it down. It's almost like watching the movie happen, and there's not a lot of respite. There are some quiet moments in the book, some moments where you can breathe, but much of the book is like practicing anxiety. Scientists say that it's good to practice feeling scared, feeling anxious, feeling angry. It's good to practice those negative feelings, because then when we encounter them in real life, we've practiced how to regulate those feelings. If you need any practice in how to regulate your anxiety, you should read this book. It is just so much happens to these characters in such a short frame. Like there's no dull moment. You will be racing to the end of this trilogy, as I am. You will be thinking about it day and night. You'll not be able to rest until you know what happens to our plucky heroes. So I do just want to draw attention to what I'm doing here with my illustration. So I I love having bright colours in my illustrations, but sometimes it can feel like all the colours kind of merge into one. So what I love to do, which I learned from a YouTube artist, is that I create a saturation layer, which is that you create a white layer, set it to the saturation layer filter, and then it shows you the value of each part of your illustration. So you can make sure that no two values are the same, and this allows, when you then bring the colour back, it allows the eyes to know which values to go to see the difference. It allows the character to stand out against the background. It just makes the illustration altogether easier to look at. So that's, if you haven't adopted doing a value layer into your digital illustration, I highly recommend that you adopt that, because it's been one of the most helpful tools to just helping my illustrations look cohesive and pleasing to the eye, just generally pleasing to the eye. The other thing I love about the story of putting this girl in a cafe waiting for her order is that I would love to normalize pulling out a book in rest times, because you know how so often we just reach for our phone in rest times, like when you're waiting for your coffee shop order, or when you're in line at the checkout. It's so easy to pull out your phone and see what's happening on social media, or get sucked into the news cycle and just feel that anxiety. And for myself, I just want to normalize for myself putting out a book and reading more. Sometimes I will say that obviously it's easier to pull out your phone because your phone is made for your hand. Not so much the giant ones that we have more, but still, it's more made for your hand than a book is. So sometimes I will read a digital book on my phone, on one of my digital reader apps on my phone. And so sometimes I will pull out my phone, but the aim is to not pull out my phone to look at social media, but to pull out my phone to read a book and enrich my mind and my creativity and all those wonderful stuff, to try and get back to reading 100 books a year. At the height of my Bookstagram reading life, I was easily reading 100 books a year. And then I got pregnant with my first child, and I don't know if any other mums have experienced this. Something about pregnancies that just really messed with my focus and concentration. Like, my focus didn't really come back until earlier this year, and when my daughter was about 18 months. So for about 3.5 years, I just really couldn't focus very well to finish a novel. But before that time, when I was in my prime, I used to easily read about 100 books a year. Right now, out of my prime, I think I read between 40 to 60 books a year, which is still a lot. I'm not saying that's not a lot at all. But when you're a voracious reader like me and you have so many books on your bookshelf that you want to read and you know there's no time to read them, you want to get back to reading 100 books a year if you can. So that is my goal. And books like Children of Blood and Bone, where they just fly by and you don't even realise that you've been reading for a couple of hours, are the kind of books that help you reach that goal, as well as being really entertaining. And if you're looking for a bookmark to help you mark your pages when you need a rest from all the anxiety from reading such a fast-paced book, this just might be the one for you. I'd like to introduce you to the redesign of my Black Girl Reading bookmark, which I will also give the new name of Black Girl Reading in a Cafe. Let me know what you think. And if you want to know which one to watch next, you can either follow along with my drawing journey in this How to Draw playlist, or you can watch me working on some portraiture. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.